Do you know that we could open it up right through this web page if you want, if that's easier.
Okay. You're live. Put it on. You got the camera ready, Tracy? Camera's on.
I like a straight shooter, man. I appreciate that.
This is being live streamed right now on YouTube and our Facebook channel.
Well, I apologize to everybody who's got to watch this. Hey, I really appreciate you guys and appreciate the way. And man, I'm so excited y'all are going. How many of y'all have been before to Pedernales, especially?
Tracy's been to Polo.
Well, there's a guy named DeLentz there that y'all are going to love. He's translator, leader, and member of the local church that you'll be serving alongside. And he loves Joe Thrasher, so he is looking forward to you being there, man. And I'm so glad y'all are going. I was shocked when I heard. Well, at first you were 12 men, and then 11 now going. But I tell you, that is setting the curve. And Joe, you're doing something right to have 11 men go on a mission trip. Usually it's 11 women, 2 men, something like that. So to have 11 men go is so encouraging. And I would tell y'all to be, buddy up with the men down there, because in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, kind of like here, maybe not quite as bad here, but, Christianity can be thought of as a women's religion. And so the women will come to church. They'll come faithfully and that sort of thing, but the men shy away. They don't want to have, and you'll even notice while you're evangelizing, the women, they'll be right up there listening, but the men, they'll want to stand off to the side, where they're not quite involved. So when you go down there as men, I gravitate towards the men, and share the gospel with them and try to call them to the things that godly men ought to be. But I'm not going to take too long tonight. I do want to show you a few resources that we have, okay? And we'll talk through some logistics, but I won't go too far into that unless you have questions. And so, but I want everybody to know the basics of logistics and where to find answers. If you're looking, you get ready to pack and you're wondering, what do I need to bring? So this is can you go to the web page? Can we start out with the web page? We have a web page. It's gohmm.org/team. And it's got all of our team prep materials. Wait for that to come up. But it's got our team prep materials. And I noticed Joe was asking you about whether you've got your, you may have been talking about the participant form. Everybody on the team's got to fill out a participant form. But everybody on the team also has to do their immigration documents. And that's online now. It's not an HMM program. It is the Dominican Republic requirement that you do. It's called e-ticket. And you got to do your e-ticket immigration document for your trip down, so your arrival into the Dominican Republic. And at the same time, you can do your departure from the Dominican Republic. You got to have that. It generates a QR code. I don't know if Spirit allows you to upload it online, but if they don't, I always carry it on my phone anyway as a photo or in files. Now, you could do it 3 months ago, both, and it's simpler, and I'll be glad to walk through that with y'all tonight, like afterwards, if you want to go ahead and fill them out. And then if somebody could kind of be the expert in that to help the guys who aren't here. But so here's the web page, gohmm.org/team. Can you scroll down a little bit? Okay, that first part, these are all tabs. This is not like a professional web page yet, but those are all clickable tabs. The first one is just a little bit about HMM. Then participant packet gives you some information you would need to know. I'll tell you something important. Pedernales, the hotel will have Wi-Fi. So if you go down there and bring your smartphone but don't have any kind of cell phone service while you're down there, at least you can make FaceTime calls while you're there. Probably not a video call, but you can make voice calls, audio calls on FaceTime so you can keep up. If you want to have like 24/7, I'm out and about, and I always want to be able to keep up with somebody back home. International, I got outside. International cell phone plans there, the cell phone coverage is great. You'll have 4 bars LTE pretty much the whole time you're there. But if you want to have 24-hour coverage, even while you're out and about around Pedernales, you got to have a international cell phone plan. So the participant form, that next button there, everybody's got to fill that out. Then the next button is TOPAZ, and we're going to go over that this evening, okay? But that's TOPAZ training. When you open that up, it'll be a PDF. You can save it to your phone or anything. That's how we share the gospel in Dominican Republic and Haiti. I'll give you a little personal testimony on that. When we first started switching over to TOPAZ, I was pretty skeptical about it. It's kind of long and it's hard to learn, and it was bumpy for me, and it wasn't what I was used to. So I kind of pushed back on it. And then and when I tried to use it, honestly, I struggled with it. But our pastors down in the Dominican Republic, all of our pastor partners said, this is perfect. This is exactly what our culture needs. And so I thought, man, I got to put my hand to the plow here. And so last summer, I was kind of forced into a situation. I was down there with a mission team, and I had to do TOPAZ a lot. And I learned more of the flow and kind of like the logic behind it. And I came back and I redid our training, and I'm hoping it's easier to understand now, and I'm hoping you grasp it. I can tell you, if you do zero prep on TOPAZ and you get down there and you try to use it, you'll flounder, okay? You got to do some sort of prep before you go, but don't feel like you're going down to do a presentation. You're not going down there, to show how well you can do TOPAZ. Even if you stumble, our translators know TOPAZ, okay, so they can make up for it. When you're down there as an American, you will automatically be viewed with credibility, with they'll think you're smarter, wealthier, godlier, you know the Bible better. I mean, those are the kind of ways that they think of Americans. So you will be listened to. So even no matter what words in English came out of your mouth, as long as your translator's saying the right thing, it'll go well, okay? That's not an excuse not to learn it, but believe me, you don't have to get all uptight about it. So keep scrolling past TOPAZ. There is instructions on the e-ticket, and Joe, it's different than the last time you did it. Not big differences. I want y'all to know we use our address in Barahona, which is the headquarters for HMM. We use our address in Barahona, Dominican Republic, for every team that goes down. Some people get uptight whenever they see they're not putting in Pedernales, but it's okay. This is what we do with every team. And I'll give you one other warning on that. When you're putting in your personal address, okay, because you'll have to fill out your personal address. And let's say this really happened, like this couple was from French camp. Their passport says French camp, and they get on there trying to fill out their home address. Well, it's all drop-down menus. Like once you've entered in Mississippi, it's got a list of cities. So you could type in part of your city name and choose Brandon or Flowood or whatever. But French camp wasn't on there. Little community, it's not on their list. So I kept telling them, choose the next larger city. It'll be okay. Well, they were very nervous about that. But I'm telling you, if you're from a small area around, I don't care what your passport says, if that city's not on that drop-down menu, choose the next largest city. It'll be fine. The Dominican government is not looking to put Americans in jail. They're not looking to hassle you. They're not looking to hold you up, okay? So don't get nervous about things being a little tick off. Okay, can you scroll a little bit more? Prayer guide, some helpful phrases, and then down at the bottom is a packing list, FAQs and a packing list. Packing list is pretty simple. I'll give you a couple of my tips for packing. outlets in the Dominican Republic are a lot more sparse than they are here. So in your hotel, if you're wanting to have your phone and all by your bed, I always bring one of those 12-foot interior extension cords. You know, it's got the 3 plugs on the end of it, one of those white ones. That's always in my stuff. So bring one of those, and you'll have electricity by your bed. And the air conditioning will work, but it may not be, it's not going to freeze you out normally. I bring a personal fan. I like to have that blowing on me. So my 2 tips for traveling, if I sleep well, I'm fine. So I bring an extension cord and I bring a personal fan. All right, everybody good with that? Okay, we can, do you want me to walk through the e-ticket, or can we do that afterwards and some real examples? Okay, all right, good. The next thing I want to do is just explain to you a little bit about 2Paths and show you that we have this resource here, okay? If you can close out of that and open up the PDF that you like. 2Paths is based upon the story that Jesus told about the easy path that has the wide gate, and a lot of people find it. Problem is, it leads to death and destruction. And then the hard path that has a narrow gate, few people find it, but it leads to life. It's based upon that. Everybody, is on one of those 2 paths. Everybody ever born is on one of those 2 paths right now. But for Dominicans and Haitians, their culture has gotten so comfortable in their sinfulness, if I could say it that way. I don't think they know what, honestly, I've asked some guys down there while I was witnessing to them, I said, do you know what sin is? And they're like, no. They really don't understand that. We hear enough about the Lord, and I know enough about his requirements, or maybe even a little bit about the gospel. Even if we're not a believer, we kind of know the standards that Christians, and we know if we're in that or not. I mean, we know if we're living that way or not. The culture has defined how they live, and it's become so comfortable and accustomed to it that it's just life. It's just life. So this 2Paths is a way to point out to somebody, guess what? You're on the wrong path. So they get to the point where they self-select. Am I on the narrow path or am I on the wide path? And I always tell people, hey, down there, they are kind of like our Gen Z here. They will tell you up front, honestly, anything. So, my generation, if I'm talking to somebody who's talking to me about Christianity and I know I'm a wide path person, I'm not owning it, but down there, they will own it. They'll be so honest and upfront with you. So let's just go through this a minute. I don't know if you recognize this guy up here in the corner who's sticking his hand out. That was around Bararona. So that was a Hartfield spring break trip a few years back. But you're going to go out with rice and beans, okay? Let me tell you what rice and beans is. An order of rice and beans consists of 4 big burlap sacks of rice and 1 burlap sack of beans. And the plastic drinking cups that you get at a ball game, 4 of them of rice, 1 of them of beans. That's a home delivery. So we just call it rice and beans. 1 order of rice and beans produces 90 home deliveries. I believe you've got 2 orders because y'all are going to be doing a lot of evangelism. So it's just a door opener, okay? When you go to see people there, you're going to go see people who, honest to goodness, don't know where today's food's coming from. So you're kind of walking in, giving a gift of love and taking that pressure off of them. And it just gets you an audience, okay? That's all we're looking for. When we walk up to a house with rice and beans, we don't withhold it. We've had people who thought, if you receive Christ today, I'm going to give you some food. Well, no, we don't withhold it. It's right up front. So I will tell you, as Americans, what you're used to when you talk to Americans, you're thinking, I'm bothering you, I'm taking too long. But I just want to encourage you to tell you there's nothing more that they need to hear than what you've got to say. And no matter what they have going, which is probably not a lot, they need to listen to you. If anybody acts like they're kind of busy, it's probably just because they might be trying to get you to shove off a little early. You stick through that. Most people are going to pull out the plastic chairs and have you sit for a while. 30 minutes here may feel like an eternity. 45 there is more normal, okay? So you can visit with somebody for 45 minutes, make small talk, get to know them, be relational.
First couple of times I went there, it was, man, it wasn't about getting done. It's like, man, how many houses? Let's share one. The last time I went, we sat in one place and I probably drank 3 cups of paper lighter, and I sat there for 35 minutes.
Amen.
By the time we got done, we started with 4 people. There were 16 people sitting around because they believed that we were truly there to care about them. And that's one thing that it wasn't about our own when I did this. Samson said, every team needs to, not needed, but every team to do what you're doing, it would go a long way. Just what Chuck said, just sit, slow down, just stop. Don't be an American. Like culturally, I've already warned him. Like the Lentz can say, all right, we'll be up at 8. We might not leave till 10. That's fine. But once we get wherever we're going, we're going to get things done. But just slow down and just be where your feet are in that moment. And it's a phenomenal experience. It's changed the whole way I look at it.
And DeLentz is type A, so slow DeLentz down. If he's trying to get you, yeah, let's give him those rice and beans, let's get moving on. Slow him down. Your message is way more important than anything else that's going on. So be prepared to sit and relax. Always tell them you're not there representing HMM. You're not even there representing the Way. You're there representing Pastor Franzi's church, okay? And so every pastor partner that HMM has means that we are in constant touch with them to know how it's going at their church, what they're doing. They're in our pastor training program, which our first group of pastors will graduate this year. And that's a 10-course curriculum that when they complete it, they'll receive a certificate of pastoral ministry from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. So I'm not equating it to seminary in the U.S., but it's pretty legit. Okay, so I'm really proud. I oversee our pastor training in the Dominican Republic. I'm really proud of our guys. I've seen such a change in them. I've seen them go from guys. I always, when I'm teaching, I always try to sprinkle in those questions, that are kind of covert to find out if they're reading their Bible. And, so I'll say, hey, man, have you ever heard the story of such and such? And it used to be nobody would say anything. And I never knew, do they not know the story? That was probably the most likely. Or do they not want to say, yeah, I think I've read that, because they don't want a follow-up question to show that they really don't know it. Well, now, man, whenever I do something like that, all the pastors in there, maybe one or two, don't raise their hand. Oh, they know it, and they're getting their congregation to read the scriptures. I don't know if you ever met Jackie at Algodón, but Jackie just had a team bring Bibles down for his congregation. He wanted to make sure everybody had a Bible in church that they could follow along with his sermon. Man, that may not sound like much. Y'all get used to that here. It's huge there. It's really making progress. Well, Pastor Franzi in Pedernales is solid. He has his church is overrun with people. He's a good man. He teaches truth. He's a student of the Word. I was in Pedernales in September and was going around doing rice and beans. And I come up to this. Me and a couple other people, we come up to a house, and there's a lady sitting in a plastic chair in her little fenced-in yard. I say fenced-in, it's like barbed wire, And you'll enter into little third-world yards with shack houses, and there'll be chickens running around, and kids, and cats, and dogs, and all that. Don't pet cats and dogs, by the way. That's my advice to you. But anyway, so we go in and we start talking to this lady through translator, and we started to give her rice and beans. Said, hey, we wanted to give you a gift, show you that we love you, we care. She said, you can come in and talk to me for as long as you want, and I don't care you give me rice and beans or not. She was a widow, and she needed that. But she was wanting to let us know she wanted to fellowship with us because she was a believer and we were believers, and that's what she valued. And it turned out she went to Franzi's church. I was so proud of him. That maybe sounds really small and trivial, but that's a big deal there. That's a big deal that Americans came with a gift, and that wasn't even what she was looking for, because they need food. That used to be, that would be the first thing. Oh, yeah, Americans, give me something, more of a, I don't know, welfare type mentality. That was a huge deal. So Franzi's doing the right things. He's teaching the right things. So you want to tell them, hey, we're from America, and we're here with Pastor Franzi and his church. That lends credibility to Pastor Franzi. Automatically, people will think, wow, Pastor Franzi, he must be somebody because American teams are coming to work with him. And I always tell them, we're here to work with Pastor Franzi because we know he teaches truth. So I always want to say that, we know he teaches truth. So I'm sorry, I won't take that long on every slide. So you share the rice and beans. I've already told you, you give them right up front. Now, when you go through these and you kind of are looking at it, I've taken the most important points, okay? So if you don't remember anything else, just remember the most important points. It's kind of a process you're building. So you want to tell them, I always say, hey, I've got a gift for you to show you that we love you, we care. This is rice and beans. Now, I know this gift, the amount you're giving them probably lasts an average family 2 or 3 days. I'm giving you this gift, but I know it'll run out in 2 or 3 days. But I've got another gift I want to share with you that'll never run out. Can I do that? I want to tell you a story from the Bible. So I'm already pointing out, man, the greater blessing is the Bible story. Okay. So you introduce the story of the two paths. Jesus told a story about two paths. One's wide and easy, the other narrow and hard. And then ask your translator to read that story from Matthew 10. By the way, the people there are not big readers. They're what you call an oral culture. So they'll hear that story, even if it's the first time they ever heard it, and they'll know it better than we do. So you could even ask them when they finish, hey, what did that story say? And you'll think they're not going to get this. They're not going to remember any of it. They'll get it. So your translator reads it. Most important point, Jesus told this story. It's in the Bible, therefore it's true. Everyone is on one of these two paths. Everyone in the world is on one of these two paths. Okay, next. So you describe the paths. Path is easy. Most people take the easy path. The other path is hard. So it has few people on it. Okay, next. But there's a problem. One path is attractive. It's easy. It's what the culture follows. It's what most people are on, but it leads to death and destruction. I always say this. I'm not just talking about physical death because we're all going to die. I'm talking about eternal separation from God. Okay, so that's where the easy path that a lot of people want to be on, that's where it leads. The other path, the path of following Christ, leads to life. So it may be hard, but it has the reward. Okay, next. Then you want to describe the people on each path. This is where we go to Galatians, and you want to. The point will be in this is the Bible describes the characteristics of people that are on the paths. People that are on the wide path, what do they look like? People that are on the narrow path, what do they look like? So you go to Galatians. The first part, you have your translator read it. Galatians 5:19 through 21, fruits of unrighteousness. And then in contrast to that, people on the narrow path, Galatians 5:22 through 23, that's fruits of the Spirit. So the point is, by those descriptions, we can evaluate what path we think somebody is on, okay? We can get pretty good clues as to what path they're on, okay? So then you kind of, this is a really important point right here. So if you're moving into, well, how do we get on those paths, And they're works-based usually, so they'll think, well, you do bad things, so you end up on the wide path, But you dispel that, and I always read Psalm 51:5. We were in iniquity in our mother's womb. So before we were even born, we were wide path people. Everybody is born on the wide path. So you could say it like this. You know what you have to do to get on the wide path? And they're thinking, you got to steal and you got to do whatever, You don't have to do a thing to get on the wide path. You're born on the wide path. Okay, next. Well, how do you get onto the narrow path then? Well, this is where you can tell the story of Nicodemus from John 3. I don't read that one. It's got some complicated stuff in it, but I do tell it. I tell a summary of it. I usually just say something like, there's a story in the Bible in John chapter 3 where a man named Nicodemus came to Jesus and asked him, what must a man do to enter the kingdom of God? And the man told him, well, he must be born again. And Nicodemus was confused. He said, what? How can I enter back into my mother's womb and be born again? And Jesus said, no, it's you have to be born of the Spirit. You have to be reborn. You have to be born again. So the point is, and what you're driving at right here is, yes, you're born on the wide path, but you are reborn onto the narrow path, okay? Born on the wide path, reborn on the narrow path. And I always tell them this because, you can find Dominicans and Haitians both. They think, I'm young and I'm having fun. I'm living like the culture, and that's what I want to do. I want to be my own boss, and all those things we think when we're unbelievers. And they'll think, I want to live my way until the day before I die, and then I'll become a Christian, get the benefit. So I usually don't try to fight that a lot, except I tell them, this is my argument against that. I say, I used to think that too. I didn't want to be a Christian because I thought it was just following rules. But you know what? When I heard the gospel and I was saved, when I was reborn, God gave me a new heart. Now I want to live on the hard path. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, it can be hard, but it leads to life. I have that hope, and I wouldn't live any other way. So that's my comeback on that. So anyway, okay, next. Well, then the question is, okay, to get on the path to life, how can you do that? How can you be reborn? So this is where you need to share the gospel. Most teams have a gospel. I don't know if you guys have a way that you like to present the gospel. You have some flexibility here. I don't want you to feel like you've got to give a lengthy gospel presentation and seal the deal right there. Know going in that some people, especially Dominicans and Haitians, it can take a little while. It's a big decision for them. They're counting the cost. They may not be ready to decide that day, but that doesn't mean you don't want to skip the gospel. Okay, so you tell them what the gospel is, and I've got a few gospel points right there. But if you've got some way that you want them to share the gospel. Tell them about Jesus dying for our sins. All right. Next. And then you want to find out what path they're on. Now, sometimes I do this one before I do the gospel, and I think it fits better that way. But you can just ask them. I said, okay, we've talked about people who are on the wide path, and we've talked about people who are on the narrow path. What path do you think you're on? And 90% of the time, you're going to get people say, I'm afraid I'm on the wide path. Well, now here comes the gospel. What path would you like to be on? Let me tell you how to be reborn. So share the gospel with them. Sometimes you'll have people say, I think I'm on the narrow path. Well, take your evangelism visit and turn it into a discipleship visit. You'll find that most people, if you ask them some questions, do you think, I believe you. I believe you're a genuine believer. It's the best I can know about you in 30 minutes. A lot of times there'll be widows that tell you that. Problem is, they have not entered into any discipleship in their life. They're not regularly attending a church. They're not faithful to one church. They don't have a circle of friends who are believers, and they're not reading their Bible. So talk to them. Talk to them about new believer stuff, and point them towards Franzi's church. Okay, because seriously, there's other churches they could choose from, but most, if not all, are unhealthy. And so, Franzi's teaching truth. Get them to Franzi's church. That's who you're there working with. Okay, I think that was the whole deal. I would tell you, if you have anybody who is saved, if you have anybody who you've gotten as far as you feel like you can get with them, and it's like, man, I don't want to give up on this person. I think they're just virtually there. Turn to your translator and say, hey, could you get their name and contact? And you get that to Franzi, and he'll follow up. The places where you work, he frequents, okay? So Franzi is he's full-time pastor. I mean, he lives a very modest lifestyle so that he can be full-time in ministry, and he frequents where you're at, okay? So he'll get out and see those people. That was it. I'm done on that. I don't know if you guys have any questions on that. I just rolled right through it without even saying, y'all get where I'm coming from, but is everybody good with that? Any questions, logistics questions even? Burning questions? The only thing I didn't tell y'all about logistics-wise, dress code. Man, it'll be hot in Franzi's church. Are you there on a Sunday or a Thursday? Do you want to preach? Have you already covered that?
I'm probably gonna get one of them to preach.
Okay. All right. You just got elected. Yeah. Hey, man, you'll be a blessing to them. They'll love it.
I've just told them, like, the pants we're wearing are jeans out of respect in church.
Yeah.
Obviously, no ones are gonna, we always cover the skirts and all that. We get along with skirts. So we've kind of walked through some of the cultural nuances.
Yeah, don't wear those really short shorts that are popular now. No, I'm kidding.
Said you could do, we talked about these. Yeah, if you have jeans, that's fine too. Just been, these are, I'm packing 5 or 6 pairs. I was trying to explain to them today just how it can be 180 degrees and they'll be people in full suit. It's crazy. And they're not sweating.
They're so dehydrated, they're not sweating. That's my theory. Yeah, so, hey, it'll be hot. It'll be really hot. Shorts are fine down there. Some people will even wear, like, sandals around. I don't, just because it's rocky and dirty, and I don't like my feet to be all covered with dust. So I always wear socks and closed-toe shoes. But it's not a fashion show. You don't want to wear tank tops. But other than that, as long as you're conservative, and I usually just have to tell that to ladies, obviously. But you can pretty much wear what you need to wear. When y'all do construction, man, that might be brutally hot. And
Tell us a little about what the construction is on, because we've got some skilled guys that Fonzie might want to pull with some other little projects or something.
yeah, and I'm gonna soon because you told me that I'm gonna go send Delence a message. I don't know whether you've been in touch with him about your guys. You got an electrician, and
Well, we've got Bill, we got guys that kind of jacks all trade that can help with carpentry.
because he had Franzi is adding on to the church, and that turned out to be a Haitian deal right there. So we did an addition to the church on the back side of it, but he built it wider. He had it built wider than the existing church, and they were going to connect those two. But now he's saying, hey, can we just keep going and make the whole thing wider and get rid? It's wood. The old section has wood sides, so they can't keep anything in the church because people break in and take it. So the new portion is built with cinder blocks. So he's asking, could we just keep going and make the whole thing wide? And I think there's a church who's going to raise some money and help him do that. So he was going to ask that y'all would help do the foundation for the new wall. That's hard work, and you got some skilled labor. So I would say, yeah, if y'all want to engage the foundation, but I'll let him know you got some skilled labor to utilize them.
And we're willing to rotate, some workers with evangelists, just kind of, so we can keep the work going too.
Okay.
Whatever they want to do, we've done that with some other teams in Polo and Barcelona, where teams work and have what they're evangelizing. I think our team's big enough to maybe pull some.
I had on the schedule just put y'all doing construction in the morning while it was cooler and then evangelism in the afternoon. But if you want to do it that way, that's no problem.
I got a lot we could work afternoons too, rotate.
And I told DeLynch y'all probably want to go to the park, the basketball courts or something after when it gets dark and have some rec there. But you know that when you get there, if you need to adjust the schedule, if it's not working or you got something better, you and DeLentz can work that out. Okay, well, the construction, I'll let him know. And I don't know what they might come up with for you. Franzi lives right next door to the church. He's also been trying to build his house. So between one of those two, they probably have something for you, electricity-wise, I'm sure. But I'll let them know, man. I'm so glad to have some guys going down.
What about, you guys, if you need to go, let me know. If not, I'd love to knock some of these forms out. You don't have to worry about them. Want to go ahead and knock these e-tickets out and stuff? Let's go ahead and do that.
Would you mind opening that web page back up? And this guide is screenshot by screenshot of the actual e-ticket website, okay? I just use fake information because you have to complete a page before you can go to the next page. So scroll down and the e-ticket guide. Yeah, just double click on that. How to complete your e-ticket. Yeah, I know it's fuzzy. I never got a good job done on that.
Now I've got your flight information here. If you go to gohm.org, it's going to have a link to take the should be.
That's a live link. You see that e-ticket? That's a live link. So if you go to gohmm.org/team, then open up this guide. That's a live link to e-ticket. So when you first start out with this thing, you're going to go back up to the top. You're going to do e-ticket application. Consult e-ticket means if you can start this process. If you'll write down, do new e-ticket, the one on the left. I don't know why it doesn't give you English there. You got to go up in the top. It says Espanol and switch to English.
On your phone will be top right underneath Republic of Dominican. I should have got that link on your text.
So you're not a robot? Request. All right, at this point, y'all see that application number up, and it's still in Espanol? Okay, there you go.
Chuck, we need to, are you traveling with someone else as abbreviated yes, or just leave that note?
I always say no unless I'm traveling with family. Application code, if you'll write that down, and let's just say you get partially through this, and you got to get out, you got something else that happens, you got to run, you can call it back up, and it'll save your progress as long as you've got that application code, okay? So you want to write that down.
I would screenshot of the thing you've been showing it to.
We'll have to go back to the actual guide. This is the e-ticket, like as if you were filling it out, so it's blank. Okay, just page down. And that's kind of where everybody's at now. Keep going. Right now, you're on your general information, and you want to do arrival. Yeah, this is go back up. That's your personal address, general information. That's your address. How y'all coming? Y'all want to keep going to the next section?
No,
Yeah, give them a few minutes, sir.
we have a little Spanish. Right now, the way we-
Yeah, no habla español.
I just don't have my passport on me.
Do everything else until you do that, and go back in, put that code back in, and then go
You can go past that right now by just typing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you go back in and change it later. You looking real masculine these days.
So permanent address is where I live, huh?
Yeah, that's your.
Yes.
Not listening on it.
Yeah, but you don't list that. Remember we,
Yeah,
Hey,
so he's gonna, when he,
hey, yeah, hang on a second.
it's gonna show it on the next. Show you that.
Wow, that's small too. Can you expand that one some? Okay, on your occupation, I always put private employee. Yeah, you can't go wrong in choosing something. I would choose private employee. And where you're staying, family and friends. That's the choice you want to make. Don't say Airbnb or hotel, any of that. That could lead to some questions. Not bad questions, but it'll just hold you up. So do family and friends. That's the best option. Is everybody done with this part? Or y'all can say when you are and we'll move on? Arrival. Do arrival. Yes. You'll do departure in a minute.
This should be as listed on our passport, I'm assuming, our name.
Yeah. Your name as it appears on your passport.
That's gonna be on his list. Okay, gotcha. One of those curses I got, I go by Bill, but everything's William.
Yeah.
I never use William.
I'm William Charles, and my parents nicknamed me Chuck. That was cursed. I mean, that's a nickname you don't want anyway. But having there was too many bad things around with that growing up.
I never thought about that.
It was ugly. It was ugly. I should have pulled a Chip Henderson and told my parents I knew I was changing my name.
You need mine? Borrow one, I don't know. At least one eye may help.
There'll be a private employee and then.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're most welcome. Let's do it, man. See you back.
I got a picture of one on the phone here somewhere.
Can you scroll up some just to make sure that did you have that right address, street address?
Bottom of Cassandra as a section, and then I don't know the number.
I'm sorry, go down, scroll down. Keep going. Okay, right here. PRONLG. And then capital C. De La Rosa 7.
And then embarkation's where we're flying out of, correct?
Your last airport which is Miami, I assume, if you're going Spirit, Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, I'm sorry, we're at Providence.
So it's a drop-down menu, and it may not be in alphabetical order.
Not, but my finger clicked it anyway.
Are you still recording? Do you want to cut the recording off, or you want to leave this going for the guys?